Right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome inside the Fan Cave. This is the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. I'm Bob Pompeani here with you until 11 o'clock tonight, so call me at 412-575-2600. Also on Twitter, it's at KDPomp. Boy, what a busy day in the NFL. And the Steelers, of course, began Week 7 with that 33-31 loss to Cincinnati. And now they have to regroup to get ready for a stretch of games that will be very difficult for them. In fact, next Sunday night, Green Bay comes to town, and they are 3-point favorites to start this week against the Steelers, who performed so well on Sunday night, certainly much better than they do on Thursday night. And then after that, the 6-1 Indianapolis Colts come to Acrisure Stadium. That's a big one, and they won again today, so they took care of business out west against an LA Charger team that put up 420 passing yards, did Justin Herbert. What isn't enough, because Danny Dimes, Daniel Jones, is continuing to have a wonderful season. 2 more touchdown passes. He's been very good with protecting the football, no interceptions, and a 111 passer rating, and they win 38-24. And after that, it's the Chargers, as the Steelers have to go out west for that one. So 3 games, difficult assignment as they fall to 4-2, and things normally get jumbled up in all these divisions. And we saw a lot of wild and wacky things happen today in the NFL. The biggest one, of course, would be what happened in Denver, when the New York Giants seemed to have this game all but wrapped up. They led 19-0 after 3 quarters. Then they led 26-8 with 8 minutes and 58 seconds left. Now, this is sort of similar to what happened to the Baltimore Ravens on opening night against Buffalo when they just came back from the dead, it looked like. Well, this was a similar case. Denver just kept getting the ball back and taking it in for touchdowns. Bo Nix played a really good fourth quarter, as did their entire team. But there was a critical interception in there by Jackson Dart, which helped them get some of those opportunities. So 33 points in the fourth quarter, and they win 33-32. The Giants kicker happened to miss 2 extra points also, or else this could have been a win for them. So things are going crazy in that department. In Denver, big win for them as they continue to be one of the best teams in the AFC. But watch out for Kansas City, ladies and gentlemen, because the Chiefs got their swagger back. And I know the Raiders are struggling, but man, the Raiders only had 3 first downs today. That's it. They ran 30 plays. That was it. Kansas City beat them pretty badly, 31-0. Patrick Mahomes with 3 touchdown passes in that game, and they got Rashee Rice back. He had 7 catches for 42 yards. And what about Dallas? They're just cruising along with a lot of points. Now, their defense is not that good right now, so they have to score these points. But today they put up another 44 points as they win their game against the Washington Commanders. Jaden Daniels got injured in that game, and George Pickens continues what is a good year. He's had 6 straight games now with, I believe, over 50 yards and a touchdown pass. His numbers are on pace for 1,500 yards at this point and 12 touchdowns. A lot of people didn't think that was going to be possible, but he has a home down there. And even with C.D. Lamb back in this lineup today for Dallas, he certainly has made his mark on that team thus far. Now, things can always change. He's a combustible type of guy, and he may implode down there at some point. But in the meantime, they're taking advantage of having 2 really good wide receivers for the Dallas Cowboys. All right, we'll also talk about Pitt volleyball, which doesn't get a lot of national play, but they should. They won again today, and Olivia Babcock was outstanding, 41 kills as they beat Louisville. Pitt has now beaten 3 top 10 teams. They're atop the ACC. And I want to open it up also to Pitt, Mason Heinchel, whether or not they can be a factor in the ACC. Can they get to a championship game? They got some tough games coming up. Next week, it's NC State, homecoming, and then after that, a pretty good 3-game swing with Notre Dame, Georgia Tech, and Miami. So a lot of work yet to be done for Pitt, but man, it's encouraging watching that kid play and the energy he's brought to the team. And then there's Penn State, which was in position to win a game. They led 21-10 in the second half last night, and then they had problems there, and they couldn't close it out for Terry Smith. 25-24, Iowa wins that game. Lots of stuff to get into, including the Penguins and the Riverhounds. Both played out west, and both were 3-0 winners. And that's big for Pittsburgh Penguins because they come home 4-2, one of the surprise stories early on. And boy, Ben Kindle and Harrison Brunick, but specifically Kindle last night, 18-year-old kid, ladies and gentlemen. He's out there, and I thought he was one of the better players. He didn't score, but he was all over the ice, defensively, offensively, made plays. He's well beyond his age, and I would imagine the Steelers are going to keep him, or the Penguins are going to keep him up here all season long. They have 9 games to decide their future, or they can go back to their junior teams He looks like he fits, and so does Brunick, so I think they both should be here. We'll see how that plays out. Vancouver will be here on Tuesday night. As for the Riverhounds, they won 3-zip. That means that they are 1 win away from hosting a playoff game. They qualified to the playoffs a couple of weeks ago, but with this win last night over Monterey, that means if they beat Phoenix on Saturday at Highmark Stadium, and if you want to see some good soccer action, head on down there at 7 p.m. If they win, they get a home playoff game the following week. Lots to talk about. Want to hear from you. World Series, we know one team's already in, the LA Dodgers, and what can you say about Shohei Ohtani against the winner of Toronto and Seattle? And Toronto got off to a good start tonight. They're up 4-zip against Seattle. And Seattle, if they win, all they need is one win, and they'll get to the World Series against the Dodgers. We'll talk about all this and more coming up. I want to hear from you. 412-575-2600. This is the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. And just so you know, we're on 7 nights a week, so call us anytime at 575-2600. This is our Xfinity tweet of the night. Comes from Underdog NFL. How about Tua Tagovailoa? Man, has he had trouble. This is the player with the most 2+ interception games in the NFL since 2022. He's done it 12 times. Today, 3. Last week, 3. Miami's fallen apart. McDaniel's got to be gone soon, I would imagine. That's a team that's gone completely backwards. They got throttled today, largely because of Tua's takeaways. One was a pick 6. Cleveland wins 31-6. Dylan Gabriel under control today. I thought played a pretty good game, but the Browns get a win against a team that's just in disarray right now, the Miami Dolphins. Want to hear from you at 412-575-2600. We got a tweet here from Steelers, Pens, Pirates. He says, with the defensive struggles that happened on Thursday, should defensive help go ahead as a trade option over wide receiver, or is the chance Omar Khan could pull off both trades for both positions? I doubt that they would be looking, although you can argue they need safety help potentially, but quite frankly, their number one issue is second wide receiver. I think at this point, if they're going to make a trade, that would be the position I look at. Now, does that mean some defensive player may become available? Who knows? And they could certainly use help there. But that would be the number one thing. Last year was Mike Williams. They brought him in at the deadline or whatever. He's okay, but they need something more than that. And they need a healthy Calvin Austin, to be honest with you. He and Roman Wilson, I thought Roman Wilson had, he was in there, made a play in that Cincinnati game. He needs more of those targets. But keep in mind, all 4 touchdowns in that game were 2 tight ends, as Aaron Rodgers put up a 4 spot there. Let's get to the lines as you look at our KDK.com/connect. Penn West University poll of the night. Who won the Micah Parsons trade so far? Now, this is an interesting question because Dallas is going to get a nice little windfall out of that trade, and they're playing pretty well right now. And Parsons with the Packers 4-1-1 had a couple of sacks today. We'll see him on Sunday night at Acrisure Stadium. Let me know what you think. And let's go to the lines, beginning with Will in McKees Rocks. Hello, Will. Good evening to you.
Hey, good evening, Bob. Thanks for taking my call as always.
Thank you.
No problem at all. Thanks. Bob, I have a NFL question for you, and it's something that I just realized today watching the Kansas City game earlier today. Mahomes threw a ball, into the stands, and they showed that the guy that caught it had to switch it out for a different ball, and they said the reason why that was is because the NFL puts microchips on the game balls. Now, what is the reason for that, and when did they start that?
Well, first of all, I didn't see that, Will, so you're catching me blind with that one. But they've done that now for, I dare say, 2 years. I think it may have happened last year. Don't know exactly, and I'm still not sure what you mean by switching out. You mean he kept the ball and put another one in play? I'd have to look into that, so I don't have a good answer for you. But all I knew about that game was that the Raiders stunk. Kansas City won 31-0. Jerry in Pittsburgh is next up. Hey, Jerry, how are you?
Hey, good evening, Bob.
Hey, go ahead.
It's Terry, by the way.
Okay. Yeah, I got you, Terry.
Listen, I've often heard you say that you thought that the Steelers should keep Pickens one more year, and I watched the Dallas-Washington game today, and not only did he play great, but his demeanor is totally different. And I just wondered your opinion of how they pushed the right buttons and the buttons the Steelers may have missed to keep him.
Terry, I will say this, and thank you for the call. I said that all along only because I believed that George Pickens would put his personal agenda and his, ego and all the things that come with what was being perceived as a cancer in their locker room, which I realized was a factor in this. But I thought he would check those boxes in the back seat, and he would work hard for 1 year because he's playing for a contract. I've often said, if I were a general manager, I wanted people to play for contracts. Now, they deemed his attitude was so negative that it was addition by subtraction. We'll see. That may be true in the long run because there's still a lot of the season left, and George Pickens can blow up at any time, as we saw here. But my premise on that was that he was going to play regardless of where he went, just because he had so much money at stake. And when that becomes the issue, that's a priority. I don't care who you are, and there's a lot of money at stake. And if you play badly and look like a baby out there with all some of the antics that we have seen, that you're going to lose money. So, so far he's been great. And like I said, his pace is up there. And even with CeeDee Lamb back, those two guys give Dak Prescott a very good 1-2 punch. So it's still a long way to go. I would have preferred him here just to see what he would do opposite DK Metcalf. That was my premise. And I thought Tomlin could have handled him. He's been here for 3 years, 3 years in a row. So one more year, I don't think would have been that difficult. Although I get the fact that it could be a cancer in the locker room. I understand that. Let's go to Kirk and Manor. Hey, Kirk, how are you?
Hey, Bob, how you doing tonight?
Good, thanks.
I just wanted to ask you, do you not think it's time to possibly fire Coach Tomlin? And in the last 12 years, what has he accomplished?
Kirk,
I'm just asking.
I just think that's, those topics come up every week, it seems, when they lose, especially. They're 4-2 at this point. My contention on all this is let it all play out. One of the reasons why I thought James Franklin would last this season, because they would have let it play out. And right now, they're kind of in a tough situation at Penn State for that reason. Listen, he signed a new deal. He's not going anywhere. And quite frankly, at 4-2, that's better than what most people thought. Is there room for concern? Sure. Do they need to get better, especially defensively, since that's his baby, basically? Yes, they have to. Do they have to win a playoff game? Yes, they have to. Let this season play out. But he signed a new 3-year contract, so he's not going anywhere. And the fact that we talk about it doesn't make a lot of sense at this point, at least to me. Let's go to Jimmy in Point Breeze. What's up, Jimmy? How are you?
Hey, thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
Hey, I just wanted to ask a question about the Penguins. So it seems that we all thought this would be a down year, and Dan Muse has stepped in and really changed the environment over there. So it makes me wonder if we should have maybe let Mike Sullivan walk away a few years ago. And I know he's a great coach, but there's something about hockey players that they need a new coach every few years. And I wonder if we maybe would have been more competitive if we'd have let that happen organically a couple years ago. Rather.
I mean, you could make that point, Jimmy, for sure. Mike Sullivan is an outstanding hockey coach. He's got off to kind of a rough start with the Rangers. And I say this about Dan Muse. He's not been afraid of playing younger players if they deserve the opportunity. Nowhere did I see Ben Kindle and Harrison Brunick both making the roster to start the season, but he was willing to do it. He's willing to put them in bigger situations, especially if they play well. Now, I think Mike Sullivan, who benefited from young guys when he first was here, he brought up guys from Wilkes-Barre Scranton, and they had prominent roles right off the bat with that team. And that only helps you also with your salary cap situation, because you have young guys playing for very low salaries, and so you can do some things at the trade deadline you could add on for that sort of thing. And I thought all those guys did a good job for him. But as he went along, he deferred to veterans, and I don't think he was as patient with younger guys. Dan Muse is a young guy coach. He's known as a developer of talent, and I think he also has this team buying into whatever system he's doing. I know this, and listen, I'm no hockey expert to the point where I'm going to look at metrically everything that goes on, but what I can say is that it looks to me like they're playing as a team, and they're buying into whatever he's doing. The shots on goal totals against have been lower. They're certainly looking at puck management in their own zone and the attack zone. They support the puck. They do a lot of things that I think young coaches would love to see from their teams, and it's working so far. They have a good mix of young and old. We'll see how far that lasts. But I said at the beginning of the season, I thought they could push for a playoff spot, and most people were talking about winning the Gavin McKenna sweepstakes, which, again, in a lottery system, you have not that much control over. It's only 6 games, so let's see what happens by Christmas time, and then we can reconvene on this. Let's go to Wayne in Castle Shannon. Hello, Wayne. How are you?
Not too bad. How are you tonight, Bob?
Good, thank you.
Thank you for taking my call. Question that I was reading the paper today, and The Steelers' defense. You know, everybody's bringing up about the yardage and everything going on, and it's a high-paid defense. How come Terrell Austin's name's never brought up about being fired and being replaced?
Well, you know, a lot of people do bring it up, but, you know, the Steelers at this point are not looking in that direction. And I think most of that, what you're referring to, comes from because, you know, Mike Tomlin is a defensive-minded coach. That's what he did in Minnesota before he got the job here. He's also working with defensive backs. And that's one of the things the Steelers have not done all that well over the years is draft defensive backs, specifically corners. They've gone through a list of a whole bunch of people, and not many have stuck around or become fixtures in their secondary. So, you know, that's why you don't see it, because it's viewed as a joint effort, and Mike Tomlin does control final say on a lot of this stuff. So it's interesting in that Cincinnati game. I couldn't believe how they ran the ball against the Steeler defense. This is an offensive line in Cincinnati that had its problems. They really were not looked at as a good offensive line, and it showed up in the stats where they only averaged 57 yards per game rushing. And then the Steelers show up on a Thursday night, and they rush for 142 yards, and Chase Brown averages 9.8 yards. And when that happened, then all of a sudden they loaded the box a little bit, and then Flacco goes to work. So very difficult combination to stop. And Joe Flacco, got to give him a lot of credit. He came in there kind of blindly in 2 games. He's looked right at home with that team. And the Steelers contributed to that, no question about it. They knew that Chase and Higgins were both going to get their share of targets. I never thought it'd be that many targets. 23 for Chase, 16 receptions. And it was easy at times. There are guys walking, you know, wide open, especially when they're trying to protect a 1-point lead at the end when all they need is a field goal. So not the best development to see, but this is a wacky world of the NFL, and this is what we see week to week. Now, the Steelers could very well come home on Sunday and beat Green Bay, and the narrative changes. So we'll see how that goes. Got to take a break, come back with more. Join us tonight for the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown, 11:35. We got DeCourcy, we got Muller, and we got Adamski, all talking sports, 11:35 KDKA-TV. All right, welcome back. Apologies to Bob and Beachview and other callers we have. Kind of running out of time here. I have about 30 seconds left, so won't be able to get to you tonight, but call us again tomorrow night. One other note about the Penguins, that second line is really a good one. Malkin, who had a goal and an assist last night, also with, you know, Justin Brazeau, who looks much more talented and skilled, as I think most people thought when he first signed here with the Penguins, along with Anthony Mantha, who may not be as fast, but he still can bury a puck, and we saw that on display last night. So the Penguins came away with a very nice win. They're making life easier on their goalies, and their goalies are helping them out along the way, so we'll see how long this lasts. Penguins in Vancouver come up on Tuesday night at, not at Acrisure Stadium, no, they'll be at PPG Paints Arena, and we'll see the Canucks in town after Vancouver traded Artur Shilovs here to Pittsburgh. He should be in goal for that game against his former team. It's going to do it for us. Again, join us tonight, #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. It's on at 11:35 p.m. We have a lot to get into. Busy weekend of sports, and we'll dissect it with you after the late news on KDKA. Have a good week, and we'll see you tomorrow.